What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of the Diego College Football Show. And today we have a very, very highly anticipated episode for me. This is my 2026 quarterback rankings. Going to be going down the entire league. We have 36 quarterbacks we're covering. We had a few guys in there who were kind of fringe backups. I put as some of the best backups in the league. Started a few games last year. Just going to cover it all. I have them grouped into 4 tiers. And we're just going to start from the top. And before I get there, I want to say my criteria in this entire thing. This isn't a statistical based ranking. That's not how I looked at it. I wasn't like, this guy threw for the most yards last year, he's going to be at number 1. It's a going into one season type thing. This is a one season outlook, because obviously if it was building a team around a guy, you'd want to put the young guys a lot higher. So there is young guys that are lower in this list, and that doesn't mean that I think they're going to be failures, or I think they're a bust, or they're not going to have a successful NFL career. But quite simply, going into this season, if I was building a team and I want which guy, I'm picking the guy that I think is going to play the best this year. Going in, it's a one season looking outlook. Just kind of the way I value players. It's kind of like the moments, like the way a player plays in big moments is the way that kind of I look at him and say, would I want this guy leading my football team? And you're going to notice that it's not a guy that played the best the entire season long. It's a guy that had big moments in big games. Those guys are going to be kind of weighted higher, in my opinion. And kind of lastly, I'm not looking at any team specific scenario. So obviously you have guys on bad teams where, they are in really, really bad situations. So I'm trying to separate the situation from the player. And obviously that's going to be hard in some situations, because some guys are very, very successful due to the guys they have around them. And some guys could be successful in other scenarios and are bad right now. And it's kind of just, you have to look at it in different type of ways. And that's kind of how I'm trying to separate the system the guy's in, the players that are around him, from my ranking of him as a quarterback. So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to start with tier 1. At the number 1 spot, I have Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if this is going to be the most popular decision. I mean, I'm kind of mixed bag type of results when we're looking at what other people are thinking, but I know we didn't have the best year last season. Obviously, the Chiefs had a down year, missed the playoffs. If I'm picking one guy to take the ball for me for an entire season, I'm still going to take Patrick Mahomes right now. I know he's coming off the knee injury, but even at the level he was playing last year with kind of so little around him, I didn't like the way that Andy Reid was calling games for him last season. The way he was keeping his team in games was so impressive. And to be honest, if they squeaked out some of those close games, he could have been playing at an MVP level, especially at the start of the season, in my opinion. He was carrying his guys, carrying them. And they went on a cold streak and didn't win any close games. And obviously he had something to do with it. He wasn't his best last year, but going into a season, I want Patrick Mahomes to take the ball. And it's going to be interesting to see how he plays this season. It seems like they're going to be going a lot more under center. He has a good running back behind him in Kenneth Walker. This isn't a Chiefs preview, but it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of cater his game to where he doesn't have to save them and bail them out and be Superman and run the ball for him every big third down. Because that's what it was last year. Last year, he ran the ball more than he ever has in his career, it felt like, and they needed him to. It wasn't like he was just doing it to do it and to doing it to stat pad. They needed Patrick Mahomes to be Superman last year, and he tried, but at the end of the day, his luck just kind of ran out. The Chiefs' luck kind of ran out, and the talent just wasn't there. He did it without a true kind of number 1 receiver, a go-to guy. Rashee Rice was an absolute bust. Xavier Worthy was really disappointing. Travis Kelce is on his last leg. Just the way he played last year was so impressive, even up until the torn ACL, that I have to have him at 1. If I'm building a team right now, I want a team to go in the Super Bowl, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. On number 2, I'm going to have to take Matthew Stafford, last year's MVP. The way he played down the stretch was so impressive. Even in those 2 duels with the Seahawks, he was the only guy. I mean, bar that Week 12 game, they kind of got shut down by him. He still threw for 2 touchdowns. He was the only guy to put up real numbers against the Seahawks kind of throughout the entire year. He threw for 450 on that Thursday night game. He threw for 374 in the playoffs. That's doing that kind of stuff against the best defense in football is not something that goes away. I mean, he's kind of the only guy that when I see across the field playing the Seattle Seahawks, I'm afraid for how he's going to play. There's no real true answer for him. He has the no looks. He runs when he needs to. He does so much. And obviously he's playing the McVay scheme. He has the 2 elite receivers, but just the way he played last year was really, really impressive to me. Going into the year, obviously had the weird little back injury that held him out for a lot of training camp that made me question, and a lot of people question, how much he was really going to play last year. And I thought he'd miss 100% a few games. And that wasn't the case at all. He played, he won the MVP. He came back. There was questions if last year would be his last year in the NFL. he came back. He's still playing at the highest level. And that's why I have him at number 2. Obviously, just for a one season type thing. I mean, for 46 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, takes care of the ball. He was special last year. And last year was truly, truly kind of, I mean, it was last year the best season of his career, probably. He's never won an MVP before. And to do that at 38 is just wildly, wildly impressive. And to the number 3 spot, I'm going with Joe Burrow. And this might be contentious. I have him above Josh Allen. Joe Burrow's still that guy, man. He is. And his team has really let him down. The defense has really let him down the last few years. He wasn't healthy all year last year. He missed a lot of time. But when he played, man, I mean, he was 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He only played 8 games. But when he played, he was special. He was really, really special. And could this be his last year in Cincinnati if things don't go well? I think so. I can get out of my head his last kind of full season, which was 2 years ago when he threw for the 48 touchdowns, I believe it was. Let me check right now. 2024, threw for 43 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, was clawing to get them into a playoff spot, and they would just lose shootout after shootout. Seemed like he had to score 35 points a game for them to be in games. And I think that's kind of the version that I thought we were going to see from him last year, and he couldn't manage to stay healthy, which was unfortunate, but he's still a top 3 quarterback in the league, in my opinion. And if I'm picking one guy to win a game, I'm taking him over Josh Allen. And that might be the wrong decision. That might be something that people really don't like, but that's what I think, man. I think he just has the it factor. He has the intangibles. He has the clutch gene. He is a guy that lives for those moments. And this is a make or break year for him. If they have a rough year, if they don't make the playoffs, he could be out of Cincinnati. It could be kind of build up a lot of question marks, as he's kind of a guy that in the national range is riding a lot on that Super Bowl run he made when they beat the Chiefs, and they lost to the Chiefs the next year. The weird kind of unnecessary roughness penalty, the defense kind of cost him. And the defense has cost him consistently over the last few years. The Bengals need to give this guy a real defense. Just because if you get in the playoffs, anything can happen with him and those 2 receivers. Anything can happen. And this is a make or break year for him and Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. And there's no one else I'd want taking the ball other than the first 2 guys, honestly. And I like Joe Burrow. If he was healthy all year last year, I think a lot of things would be different. They lost some weird games. That Bills game they lost, he obviously had the weird back-to-back plays with the pick. He threw a pick 6. But I still think he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and that's why I have him at 3 above a guy like Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is the media darling. He's a guy that has won the MVP awards. But when I talked about playing big moments, it just seems like he makes the plays. He plays well in these games, but he can never get over the hump, and he can never make the game-winning play. In that Denver game, man, I mean, sometimes just doing too much is going to get you killed. You don't need to do it all. The fumble before half, they end up losing by 3. It gives Denver 3 points before halftime, and it makes them have to stage this kind of big comeback. He throws 2 interceptions. Obviously, throws the weird contentious pick at the end of the game. That's not all on him, but it just seems like in so many of these moments he comes up short, and that obviously isn't all coming down to him. It's a defensive type thing. It's a Bills thing. Sean McDermott's out of there. It's going to be Joe Brady this year. But just something about, like, I would take the top 3 guys to win a game over Josh Allen. I would take him over Lamar, which we'll get to in a second. But just when it comes to these moments, I like the top 3 guys in the way they've shown that they can play in these clutch games and get into these back and forth shootouts more than a guy like Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. I think he's a guy that deserves to go over the hump. Who knows if he will? In a situation with Buffalo like he's in this year, it's weird. It's brand new. He brings in DJ Moore. Is DJ Moore going to be the game-changing type player for him? I'm not sure. DJ Moore was practically run out of Chicago. They were eager to get rid of him. Now he's going to be Josh Allen's wide receiver 1. It's unfortunate he really hasn't had a wide receiver 1 since Stephon Diggs left, and that's a massive void. I mean, it's hard to knock someone when obviously you have Joe Burrow throwing to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Josh Allen's throwing to Shakir. And his 2 tight ends, Kincaid and Knox, like, Dalvin Cook's his best weapon. He's a running back out of the backfield, catches a lot of balls, and that doesn't help you. You can't throw a 50-50 ball to Dalvin Cook. So I think that's kind of bit him a little bit. The Bills organization has kind of not helped him out in the most way that they could, but that's why I have him in this spot. I mean, he was 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last year. Kind of a disappointing year for his standards. He rushed for 579 yards, 14 touchdowns on the ground. So he still had the touchdown production. I mean, it's almost 40 touchdowns total, but from a pure passing perspective, it was disappointing. And I think that's kind of part of the reason that Sean McDermott was run out of there. It's not like you're going to get rid of Josh Allen, but you sometimes need a fresh head of a voice, and it seems like the voice of Sean McDermott had run its course in Buffalo. And just thinking back to last year, there was those few game spans when it felt like sometimes Josh Allen looks like an alien. You can't be stopped. There was a few game stretch where he was stopped and kind of truly shut down. I mean, that Atlanta game on primetime, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only threw for 180 yards. He got shut down in Miami. He threw an interception. Like, it was weird. The Texans really shut him down on primetime, and that's when I kind of felt like the Bills were really dead. That's a great defense, obviously. And then they lose that game in Philly where they can't get in the end zone. They lose 13-12. And then they get in the playoffs, and he kind of heroes them to victory in the game against Jacksonville, which was really impressive. And then the Denver game, just he puts on a good performance against a great defense, but sometimes just doing too much comes back to bite him. He needs to be able to flip that switch to go back sometimes, because that is something that will kind of kill you. And to the last guy we have in the top spot, Lamar Jackson. I debated having him as the last guy in tier 1 or the first guy in tier 2. A bit of a down year for Lamar last year. Again, couldn't really stay healthy, but I think it's in there. He's 29 years old. He's still in the prime of his career. I think Lamar's poised for a big bounce back year. Kind of having a fresh system too. Again, the Harbaugh thing, the way they were running him, it just kind of had to run its course. And now they bring in a young gun, Declan Doyle, 29 years old, the youngest offense coordinator in the NFL, came over from under Ben Johnson. That seems like a great sign for a guy like Lamar. Lamar is going to be in a fresh spot. He's going to be healthy coming into the season. There's always these questions about his weight. It was just so much of a what's going to change this year for Lamar when it was under John Harbaugh. Oh, he's lighter this year. He's heavier, can take more hits, so he's going to be more agile. This year, it's a complete fresh start. I think that gives a little bit of a pressure off of his back. It's not the Lamar and Harbaugh show. Can they get over the hump? It's fresh start. Jesse Minter, young defensive-minded head coach with a kind of a fresh offensive mind in there above Lamar. And I think that's going to be the best thing possible for him. Derrick Henry's probably on his last few legs. But Lamar's a great player. The intangibles are there. He gets to use in these shootouts. What he can do when he's on and healthy is truly special. And I think that's a skill that really no one else in the league possesses. The way he can play when he's fully healthy is like top in the NFL. And it's yet to really come through in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they've had these brutal, gruesome losses in these playoff games under John Harbaugh. And I'd like to see Lamar in another back and forth playoff game with Josh Allen. Those seem to be the best type of games. Lamar can get you to those spots. Lamar is special. He is a special player, and it takes a special scheme to really scheme against Lamar Jackson. He is probably one of the hardest guys to play in the entire NFL based on what he can do when he's fully healthy with his legs. And I think going into this year, the age 29 season, that's still there. That's still in him. He had a long offseason, no playoffs. And I think that this is going to be a really big year for Lamar Jackson. So let's go on to tier 2. That's my tier 1. Let's move on. On to tier 2. And starting it off at number 6, I have Dak Prescott. This is when things going to get a little contentious and debatable, because I feel like at the top 5, you have 5 guys who are everyone's top 5 quarterbacks. I mean, for the most part, those are the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, depending on how you want to order them. Here, it starts to get a little more opinionated. So at number 6, I have Dak Prescott. This isn't going to be a popular opinion, I don't think, but Dak Prescott was a top 5 quarterback in football last year. And I think he's only primed to take off from here. Last year, I think it was one of the best seasons of his entire career. And unfortunately, they had a really bad defense around him. But Dak was an elite quarterback in the NFL last year. I mean, he threw for 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He was the reason the Cowboys were winning games. He threw for 4,500 yards, which is 3rd in the entire league. He had them in almost every game. I mean, the start of the season, they were a lot more, I'd say, high-powered. Things kind of went off the rails after that game against Arizona on Monday Night Football. But the way he was playing last year was so kind of in tune, in rhythm. And I think Dak's just a really good, I mean, this might come off as kind of a slight, but a regular season quarterback, he's going to put up the numbers and he's going to have you in games. Like, no matter if you fall behind, you are always in the game because you can come back in the matter of an instant, especially with those 2 receivers. I think he played very on time last year. He was like, his decision-making was well. I mean, it seemed like every time he knew it was a big 3rd down, he was throwing to George Pickens on a quick little slant. And that's because he has George Pickens to play receiver for him. But he knew what he wanted to do, and he did it very well and very effectively. I think that him and Brian Schottenheimer were a great duo. And I'm only expecting that to go up this year for Dak. This is a big year for Dak's career. He's 33 years old. you're not going to have these opportunities with this elite offense for much longer. He had a weird, tumultuous offseason in his personal life. And this is going to be a really, really big year for Dak Prescott. He was 5th in QBR last year. I'm expecting him to take off. I'm expecting him to be in this MVP race. And who knows? If the Cowboys win 12 games and win the division like I think they can, Dak could win the MVP. I don't think it's going to happen necessarily, but I think he's going to be in that race with those receivers, with those weapons on that offense. I think he's going to have that offense firing. That's why I have Dak at number 6. At number 7, I have Caleb Williams. This is arguably my biggest, hottest take. Caleb Williams, I think, is the 7th, at least, best quarterback in the NFL. A lot of people like to hate on Caleb Williams. They like to hate on the nail painting. They like to point out his very low lows, the missed throws, these airmailing guys, the interceptions. But Caleb Williams is elite. He is elite. And when I talked about the way I did these rankings, I did it based on the way that you play in big moments really resonates with me. The way that you show up when the pressure is the highest sticks with me. And that's what he did time and time again last year. You can say all you want about, he was inconsistent. He was very inaccurate at the start of games. He just is clutch at the end of the games, and that makes up for it. Well, yes, he threw for 4,500 yards, 31 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yes, is he inconsistent in the first 1 to 3 quarters at times? Yes, but he is the best clutch quarterback in the entire NFL. He was last year, and that cannot be overlooked. I mean, the Bears were never out of any games ever last year, which is insane. And it felt like anytime they had a slight chance to win the game, they did it. And it was all the way up until the end of the season. There was not a moment the entire year last year where I was like, the moment's too big. Did they lose some games? Yes. They lost to the Niners on that Sunday night game. They had a 2-point conversion. Or they were on the goal line with a chance to take the score, and they would have kicked an extra point to win the game. Every single close game that they lost, they had a chance, and Caleb had them in that position. Did he throw a pick against the Packers? Yes. He found a way to get him there. It just seems that to have the ability to, no matter how bad you've played the first 3 quarters or the first 3.5 quarters, to have the ability to flip that switch and turn it on at the end of the game and give your team a chance to win the game that's not something that you can teach or that you can gain. You either have it or you don't. And he quite frankly just does. He was the most clutch quarterback in the entire NFL last year. And I think that's not going to go away. And you can say there's going to be some variance with, you can't just keep that up. Okay. Well, what I think he can do then is work on his consistency and be better in the first 3 quarters. So he doesn't have to have these insanely clutch time, a big time throw, big time moments at the end of games. It was special to watch last year, and obviously not all of that's repeatable, but that's why I have him at number 7, because I think he has something that these guys underneath. I mean, I would arguably put him above Dak. I think Dak's just more consistent on a complete basis, but I think he has an it factor that only a few guys in the league do, and that's a few of those guys in that top tier. He has something that a lot of these guys in this tier right now with him don't necessarily have, and he's shown it on a consistent basis. And he was only in year 2 last year. He's going into year 3, and I expect him to only build on that. At 8, I have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, kind of the media darling, kind of not the opposite of Caleb Williams, but he's the guy that hasn't really shown up in these big playoff games, in these big moments. I mean, my lasting image of him was that playoff game against New England, which is against, yes, a good defense, but to go 19 of 31, throw for 159 yards, get sacked 6 times. Again, that's not always his fault, but it's hard to think of a signature moment for Justin Herbert. And I'm hoping that this is the year we can see him in a good, healthy offensive scheme with Mike McDaniel. And even if Mike McDaniel isn't in LA long-term, I'm hoping that he can kind of change the way that Justin Herbert thinks about quarterbacking. He can change that in a way that you don't have to make the perfect throw every time. You got to get it out of your hands. Stop taking these sacks. I mean, he was sacked so much last year. He sacked 54 times. He was just taking a beating. And sometimes he just makes things look hard. That's just the way it looks to me when I'm watching Justin Herbert play football. He does something, I'm like, it looks hard. And it'll work out sometimes, but the 60-mile-per-hour throw all the time, struggling to put touch on it at times, just makes it a little bit more difficult. And does he have the offensive tools? Yes. 26 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He's got to clean up the interception number a little bit, but I think the talent's there for Herbert, and I think him being in probably arguably the best offensive situation of his career this year is only going to help him, and he can definitely catapult himself into that upper tier in the future. At 9, I have Sam Darnold. This is another one that I don't know if people are going to love. But again, what did Sam Darnold do in the biggest games of the season last year? He had a great defense around him. Yes. He led the league in turnovers in the regular season, which is, not something that you would want for a top 10 quarterback. But when he got to the playoffs, when he got to the games that mattered most, he didn't turn the ball over once. And in the game that was, in my eyes, the Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams, he throws for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they don't win that game without Sam Darnold. He threw for 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, which he definitely has to clean up. But he was clutch time and time again. After that game in LA in the middle of the season, when they lose 21-19, he throws the 4 interceptions. From that point on, he was elite. I mean, he had some downs there from that, but they didn't lose a game after November 16th. And in the playoffs, when his defense didn't show up for him in the NFC Championship, when they were letting Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford do whatever they wanted down the field, Sam Darnold said, hey, I'm going to the Duke back. I'm going to give it to him right back. And I'm going to throw over 350 yards and send my team to the Super Bowl. And in the Super Bowl, he doesn't have his best game. I mean, he misses some throws, but he didn't turn the ball over. He did what he had to do, and he managed the game, and he won them the Super Bowl. And without Sam Darnold, the Seahawks don't win the Super Bowl. If the Seahawks have some of these guys behind them that I have in this list, they don't win the Super Bowl. If the Seahawks have Justin Herbert, I don't know if they win the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold did everything they needed him to do in the clutchest moments of the entire year last year. And that's why I think, frankly, he deserves to be a top 10 quarterback, which is exactly where I have him, because he shows up in the big moments. No moment was too big for him last year. It didn't matter when it was. There were some early season moments where, week 1 game, it's his first game in a new system. He struggles a little bit. He has the fumble, the turnover. But in that game they lose against Tampa, even he showed MVP moments. He threw for 4 touchdowns, had an interception at the end to end the game, but he was duking back and forth with Baker Mayfield, who was an MVP candidate at that time. He beats Houston, an elite defense, and at the end of the year when it mattered most, he showed up. So that's why I have Sam Darnold at number 9. Drake May, number 10. I was thinking about putting Drake May up a little higher, but he was a rookie last year, which makes what he did last year so much more impressive. But I want to see a little more, and especially kind of like what I just said. In the playoffs, I think you saw kind of Drake May get a little bit exploited. In that Chargers game, he was not very good. He threw for 270 yards, had a touchdown, hit an interception, was sacked 5 times. Again, that's somewhat of an offensive line problem too. But they put up 16 points against the Chargers defense. In the game against Houston, I think they arguably should have lost if it wasn't for C.J. Stroud having one of the worst offensive performances of all time in a playoff game. Put up 28, but that was off the heels of a lot of turnovers. It was only threw for 180 yards. And in the Denver game, yes, it wasn't a snowstorm, but it wasn't pretty before that. They put up 10 points. They scored 1 touchdown on the offensive side of the ball. It wasn't through him, or it was on the rush. He ran it in, but he did not throw it. 10 for 21 for 86 yards. Again, he was sacked a lot in the playoffs, and I think that's something that can kind of really affect you mentally when you're getting sacked that much. It's hard for you to play to your top tier. He sacked 5 times in the first game, 5 in the second game, 5 in the third, and 6 in the last one. So 21 times in 4 games, which is absolutely insane. That's almost half of what he was sacked in the entire regular season. In the regular season, he was special. That's why I have him at 10 above some other guys, other more experienced guys. He was special in the regular season. And quite frankly, I wanted him to win the MVP award last year. And it ended up going to Stafford, and I was fine with that. Kind of looking back on it in the past, I'm fine with it now. But I thought he deserved it for the way he did it, the way he played. But they played a easier level schedule, and you saw in the playoffs when they played these tougher teams, things got harder for Drake May. And he showed up in big moments at times, and he got his team to the Super Bowl. But that's why I have him behind some of these guys in front of him, because I think that he has a little bit more to prove to make me kind of 100% that he's in that top 8, upper echelon type tier. To 11, we kind of have a run in the NFC North here. Jordan Love. Jordan Love has all the stats in the world. Jordan Love on PFF is graded as, I believe, the 3rd best quarterback in the entire NFL. And Jordan Love's a guy I go back and forth on. In my Packers preview, I wasn't too high on Jordan Love. But I think a lot of more of my gripes with the Packers have more to do with Matt LaFleur than Jordan Love. Jordan Love threw for 27 touchdowns last year, 6 interceptions, was 88.7 overall season grade in PFF, third in the entire NFL. But like when I'm going back on it, obviously when you look at these stats and you look at kind of the way he played throughout the season, it's like, yeah, he's pretty good. But, I'm struggling to remember moments when he was great. And in the playoff game in Chicago, you look at it, he threw for 4 touchdowns, threw for 323 yards. That's a great stat line. But in that game, they went up. Did they go up 3 touchdowns? It was a massive, massive lead. They're up 21-7 or 21-3, and you blew a lead. You couldn't get over the hump and score a touchdown at the end of that game. That's something that resonates with me. I mean, on the stat sheet, yes, you threw for 4 touchdowns, but I mean, you were 24-46, 52% completion rate. If you complete a few more of those balls, you probably get these first downs. You can milk the clock out a little more. And yes, Matt LaFleur is making you guys throw in weird situations, but you weren't making those plays necessarily. He's only sacked once. His QBR was great, but he didn't make the plays he needed to make to win the football game. That's how I look at it, quite honestly. He got hurt in the last Chicago game in the regular season. He didn't play in the last few weeks. He played in the playoffs. But I mean, I'm thinking back to this Denver Broncos game. That was a game that I picked the Packers to win. He goes 24-40 for 276. There's 2 interceptions. There's 1 touchdown. Just interceptions in untimely spots to just kind of disappoint me, quite honestly. That's just kind of the way I think about it. Another weird stretch in the middle of the season where they lose to Philadelphia 10-7. They have multiple chances to break through and take the lead and win that game, and they don't. He's 20 of 36. There's a lot of the games in here where he disappoints, where that completion percentage is really, really low, and he'll have the plays that he does great, but on an overall perspective, he's going to be a guy that's going to be really great in the regular season. You're going to win a lot of games, but do I trust him in the big moments? And I can't say that I do more than anyone above him in that list, and that is why I have him at the 11 spot. And I tussle back and forth with him and Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I had above Jordan Love. And ultimately, I went back and I said I wanted Love over Goff. Goff's a weird one to me because he has all these great weapons around him. Stats are all there. He's second in the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns. But I'm never going to have Jared Goff in an MVP conversation. I don't think. I don't think he... Am I ever going to want to pick Jared Goff to win a Super Bowl for me? He's been there before with the Rams. That was on the heels of the great defense, a great running game. And in that game, he puts up 7 points. And they lose that game. He can't get in the end zone. He misses some throws. He underthrows some guys. And down the stretch last season, yes, I know there was issues with the play caller. It was kind of just a weird situation all around in Detroit. Jared Goff does his job, just throughout that. I don't put any of Detroit's failures last season on Jared Goff, but I don't think that he's going to put up the stats in these games. I mean, they didn't win that many games last season. I think they were 9-8, but which is a low standard for the Detroit Lions. But Jared Goff, I don't think elevated them to getting to that 9-8. They didn't win 9 games because of Jared Goff and despite bad things around them. I think a lot of people could have been in that situation doing that. So if I'm in a spot where I don't have these stacked receivers, I don't have Jahmyr Gibbs to hand the ball off to, I don't necessarily know that I'd picking Jared Goff over a lot of these guys. And Jared Goff's very solid. He does he does everything you want a quarterback to do. I think he could be kind of in the same echelon of Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold has showed me that he can perform and produce in these playoff games. And Jared Goff has at times, but I'm thinking back to my last memory of him in the playoffs. It's him against the Washington Commanders when the Detroit Lions were the 1 seed, best team in football. And he comes out and throws 3 interceptions. And I know that was 2 years ago now, but that's my lasting impression of him in a big moment. That's kind of just why I don't have anything against him, but I just haven't seen enough from him in these massive spots. And I don't think he's necessarily a game-breaking, game-changing quarterback. On to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was a guy I had low when I first made this list. And I slowly kind of moved him up. Liam Cohn and Trevor Lawrence was something that was fun to watch. It was exciting. And I think it's a great combo that's only going to continue to get better this year. He threw for 4,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, which he needs to clean up. A lot of these guys need to clean up their interception issues. But he was consistent last year. And they lost the game in Buffalo. They should not have lost to the Buffalo Bills. It was honestly puzzling to me that they lost the game. They stopped running the football for some reason. Trevor threw 2 interceptions. That's on him. But I don't put that loss fully on Trevor. They stopped running the ball against the worst run defending team in football, and they allowed Josh Allen to go shot for shot with Trevor Lawrence, and it didn't work out at the end of the day. So enough on that, but I don't put that fully on Trevor. I think Trevor, this kind of 13 to 15 range, I could have all these guys kind of interlocked, to be honest. I think Trevor is a guy that has more arm talent than Jared Goff. He's a more special talent than Jared Goff. I've seen Jared Goff do it in bigger moments than Trevor Lawrence. That's why I have him above him. And, last year was Trevor Lawrence didn't necessarily have the best start to his career. He was injured in 2024. He's kind of just been in weird situations his entire career. And they had that great season in 2022 when they had the amazing comeback over the Chargers in the playoffs at home. That was electric. And he throws 4 interceptions, 4 touchdowns in that game. And then he has a weird head coaching saga. And they finally get him with a guy in Liam Cohn that I really, really like. And we're really seeing the number 1 overall pick Trevor Lawrence that people expected to see. And they were hot. They were one of the best teams in football to end the year last season. After they lose to the Texans on the 9th of November, they rattled off 8 straight wins, and it all came kind of crashing down in that playoff game when they kind of just a failure to run the football again, like I said. But I'm expecting a big year from Trevor. I wouldn't be surprised if next year at this point I have him in my top 10. He has that talent. He has the intangibles. I want to see if he can stack a few years on it now. The arm talent's there. He has the moxie. He's the franchise guy. And I think a second year with him and an offensive mastermind like Liam Cohn is only going to be great for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 14, Brock Purdy. Purdy's a weird one because he has shown, he's gotten the team to a Super Bowl, which is something you cannot overlook. I just don't, it's not sustainable football, in my opinion. I mean, last year, those were 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he didn't play the entire season. I mean, when you look at it, he only played 9 games, and he threw 10 interceptions in 9 games. That's not good, sustainable football. He threw 20 touchdowns in those 9 games, but that's not a consistent way to play. And something I noticed with Brock is when he's playing in structure with Kyle Shanahan, and he's doing exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do, he's good. And when he has these great studly talents around him, he can make these amazing plays when he's running around in circles and he's chucking the ball up into George Kittle or whatever he's doing. He can make these special plays. But last year when we saw guys get hurt and he doesn't have these, all-pro type guys around him, and he's trying to do these special things, it's not working out as much. And it's not pretty. And it's like, Brock, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? He threw 2 interceptions against the Eagles. They found a way to win that game. That was impressive. But Brock Purdy in structure and Brock Purdy with elite guys around him, I think is a great quarterback. Brock Purdy with non-elite guys and just kind of a bang average offense around him, I think he's a turnover-prone guy that can make these special plays but isn't consistent enough to win on a consistent basis. And that's something that we saw last year. That's why I have him in this range with all these guys who I think you can say the same about. Guys that can make these special plays. I'm not hating on Brock Purdy, but I don't think there's been points in time in Brock's career that people have said, oh, Brock Purdy's one of the best quarterbacks in football. Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I just don't think that's the case. And that's okay. Brock Purdy's a great story. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. But that doesn't mean he has to, and he signed this big contract, which I think is a vast overpay. But just because he is this amazing story doesn't mean he has to be considered as an elite of the elite quarterback, which is why I have him at 14, which I think is that's a perfectly fine spot to be for Brock. Up next, you have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a guy I like a lot. As a person, I like the way he plays football, but it's not championship-winning football, in my opinion. It's reckless. It's fun. It's fun regular season football. There's a lot of guys I think that are great regular season players. Dak being one of those guys, and I want to see if Dak can take his game to the next level. Baker's one of those guys. It's fun. On a week-to-week basis, you're going to be entertained when you watch Baker Mayfield play. Is it going to be the best winning formula? I don't know. Baker's toughness is sometimes his worst enemy because he's going to play through everything. He's going to play through anything that he's given. If he can walk, he's going to play. If he can move his arm, he's going to play. And that makes some of these that's losing some games for his team, in my opinion. When you're playing with a jacked up shoulder and you can't put full juice on every single throw, sometimes you need to take a step out. And I know telling a warrior in his arena to do that is tough, but that's just the way you have to look at it for the betterment of your team. Now he's playing with this chip on his shoulder this year. He didn't get the contract he wanted, which is all going to be great. But the way he plays football, just there's too much inconsistency. It's not, again, it's kind of like Brock at times where he makes these amazing plays. He breaks a few sacks. If you're going on a one drive to kind of win a game, the way I feel about Baker is I would pick Baker over even some of these guys above him. I'd pick Baker over Jordan Love to go win me a football game. You have one drive, go. He's going to make something happen. There's so many times where I'm thinking back to that Houston game in week 2 where he's in a sack. He breaks out of it, breaks 2 tackles, dives for a first down, gets hit, gets up, makes the throw to win the game. And he can do that. But what he does up to that point, can he get you into those situations? That's kind of the issue there. He threw 11 interceptions last year. They went on that weird, like the second half of the season, they were really bad. They only won 3 games from November on, which is pretty poor. And they had games against kind of their division that was very, very mid. They had 4 divisional games in there to end the season, and they won 1 of them. And it was a meaningless Week 18 game. So, or it was meaningful for them, but their fate was out of their control. And they won the game, and the other results didn't work out. They didn't make the playoffs. So I like the way Baker plays football, but I can't fully get behind it if I'm trying to win games as a team. You know what I mean? It's just not necessarily the most consistent type thing on a consistent basis. 16, Jaden Daniels. This is he was a hard person to place for me because he had that special rookie year. Jaden Daniels had one of the best rookie years of anyone that I can remember recently. He brings his team to the NFC Championship. And last year he's hurt. When he played, he was explosive at times, but he wasn't on the field. And he's kind of shown a not fully injury prone type thing. I don't necessarily want to say that, but the way he plays needs to change. He's kind of fragile. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. When you're like that lengthy and you're running as much as he is, I believe he has the most consistent running rate of anyone in football last year. And he's not a big, even Drake May. Drake May has some bulk on him where he can take these hits and he can get up and be fine. Jaden Daniels, not necessarily. You can call it a fluke injury in the Seahawks game, whatever. No one wanted to see that. It was ugly at times last year. He was not great. And there wasn't even necessarily a game where I was like, yes, that's that prime Jaden Daniels that we saw his rookie season. It was weird. It wasn't a consistent kind of scheme. The Cliff Kingsbury thing maybe had to kind of run its course after that fun rookie season. They're bringing in David Blau. It'll be interesting to see what David Blau does. David Blau's never called an NFL offense. It'll be interesting to see the way he uses Jaden Daniels, if he can design these runs and kind of take away the minimalized risk. But I know that Jaden Daniels from his rookie season's in there. I want to see it again before I can put him up in that top 12 to 10 range, honestly, because people can do something one time. You have one great season. I want to see, is this the person who's going to be for his career, or is he going to be a career-known guy that can't really stay on the field? And to the last person of tier 2, I wrestled with putting him in tier 3. I have Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I'm not the biggest fan of, but you can't deny that this guy is winning pedigree, and he's done it before. He's shown he's a Super Bowl champion. He's a guy that's not going to play, amazing throughout the game. He's going to have the games where he looks really, really bad. But there are times when he can turn it on at the end. He can kind of will you to a victory. I think he was stuck in a bad scheme last year as well. I don't want to put all of last year on Jalen Hurts because there was some rough moments last year. The Chargers game on Monday Night Football, he throws 4 interceptions. They're in overtime. They have a chance to win after he's thrown 3. And they're down 3 points. A touchdown wins the game. And he throws an interception kind of close to the red zone. That can't happen if you're an elite of the elite guy, which Philly fans think he is. I don't necessarily think he is. You're going into year 7 of Jalen Hurts. He's had a tough situation, to be fair. He's had a lot of offensive coordinators. It's hard to have a new guy in your ear every single year telling you how you need to play. And he's been surrounded by really, really good, talented teams. And I think this year will be a very big test for Jalen Hurts. Is he an average quarterback that can kind of just do his job and get you to a Super Bowl win if he has a very, very good run game, very good offensive line, elite receivers? Or is he a guy that can elevate your team and use his legs on to high avail and elevate players around him and not be a guy that just needs to play in one specific scheme? How is Sean Mannion going to, craft this Shanahan type scheme around Jalen Hurts? I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not sure how he's going to adapt to. Jalen Hurts has been a guy that offense coordinators do not want to work with. Is that going to continue? I'm not sure. If Jalen Hurts has a rough season, are the Eagles going to move off of him? I think they could. This is the make or break year for Jalen Hurts. He has the cancer with A.J. Brown out of the locker room. It's seeming looked as somewhat of a fresh start. How is Jalen Hurts going to respond? I'm not sure. I have him in this range of kind of out of merit. He's a Super Bowl champ. He won a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. And in that game, he was good. 17 to 22, 221, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That whole playoff run, he only had 1 interception. It was a Super Bowl. They rode the tails of the run game, but he did kind of the arguably the Sam Darnold model. He just stayed out of their way. He didn't do anything to lose his team the game, which is respectable. And I'm very, very interested to see how he looks after he had a great season. Now he had a really disappointing season last year. The pressure is going to turn on in Philly if this is not a successful season for Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts has a lot on the table this year. We'll get on to tier 3 now. 3. This is kind of my tier where it's guys that are either they're in a point where they can jump up into that tier 2 and tier 1, maybe potentially spot if they're a younger guy, or they're kind of some guys on here. I'm looking at maybe 2 of them that maybe on the decline, or guys that are serviceable quarterbacks, so guys that I don't necessarily think you're winning anything with right now, but could make that jump. And that starts with one guy right here, number 18, Bo Nix. I'm not, the most fond Bo Nix guy. I think that Bo Nix could be a guy that could win a Super Bowl in the future. He could be very comparable to a lot of the guys I had in tier 2. Kind of at that Jared Goff level. I think that's Bo Nix's ceiling, and that's a very, very good ceiling in the NFL. If Bo Nix can have in kind of that just kind of Jared Goff, Jordan Love, even kind of a Sam Darnold type career, that's what Bo Nix could do in the league. I don't think Bo Nix is ever going to compete for an MVP award or anything like that, but he has the tools to kind of just guide a team to victory, guide a team with a very good defense, do what he needs to do on the offensive side of the ball, and help them win games. And he's shown that. I mean, through almost 4,000 yards last year, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It's just a lot of the Bo Nix slander, I think, is just kind of the systems he's been in. He was in an Oregon system and was a Heisman finalist when he was the check down king. He goes to Sean Payton. His average length of target is, I think, one of the lowest in the entire NFL. That's just kind of what he is and what he's been asked to do at this point. It is actually a real shame that he wasn't given an opportunity to play in that NFC Championship game, because he put a very good game together in the game against Buffalo. Threw 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, guided them in overtime to win that game. And he had a great regular season. Like overall, it threw 11 interceptions, which he obviously wants to lower a little bit, but he did what he needed to do all year long. I don't think he can be a guy that can elevate a team and do the extra things, do the game, make the game-breaking plays. But Bo Nix can be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. I just don't necessarily think he is yet. I would have all the guys above him for this year. But in this tier, I think would take him over everyone right here. And I think that's an acceptable spot to be in. Some people are going to want him a little higher based on what he did last year. But this is my opinion. I don't think that he's a guy that is going to make these crazy, do anything to elevate a team. I've said it. I don't think it's going to, that's what he can be. I think he can be a solid top 12 to 15 quarterback that if he has a really good team around him, he can guide a team to the Super Bowl, which is what he honestly probably should have done last year. And I think this is going to be a Super Bo year for the Broncos. Can Bo Nix not be the thing that stops them from getting there? Can he do his job? They gave him Jalen Waddle, who in this system, Bo Nix just dumping him the ball, throwing him a screen, throwing him a check down. That's going to elevate Bo's stats. I think Bo's in for a big year. And if he just keeps doing what he did last year, I think this is going to be a massive year for the Broncos and for him. And to show he's a guy that a team can win a championship with, and show that he can be kind of the long-term guy in Denver in that situation. Up now, I got Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. It's getting to be the end of the road. He was fine last year. The arms talent's still there, but at the end of the day, he's 42. He doesn't like getting hit. You can tell, like, when he gets hit, he's a little bit flustered when he gets up. And there's kind of just games where they can his mind's there and the arm's there, but he doesn't have any of the playmaking, like any of it anymore. It's sad. He can escape from the pocket and like kind of roll to his right and chuck it, but he can't make anyone miss in the pocket. Even his escapability there isn't really there these days. He's still elite. Not elite. The arm's elite. His mind's elite, but he can't do everything he once could do. And he'll have plays this year, I'm sure, where you'll gasp and say, wow, what a throw. Because the throws can still be there. He was sick. I guess he was sick during the postseason game last year. That's unfortunate. That was a team you could have won a game with. I don't think it's going to be a fun year for the Steelers. And it's just the age. That's the only negative with Rodgers. He doesn't have the mobility. He's too old these days. Hopefully he gets to have a successful swan song, though. Rodgers deserves it. Up next is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's a guy who I think is being very, very underrated going into this season. He had a horrible end of the year last year, and I'm not excusing any of that. All the kind of qualms were deserved with CJ Stroud. But shit happens, quite honestly. Like, it does. He's a young guy. He had a very, very good first 2 years in the league. He won a playoff game in each of his first 2 years. He was great as a rookie. He had one bad year, and it was a bad Texans offense. He didn't have Nico Collins in his playoff game. Threw 4 interceptions against the Patriots, and that's kind of people's lasting image. When I talked about, I remember the big moments, the memories. That's people's lasting image of CJ Stroud is the 4 picks in the game against New England in a game they could have won. They have the best defense in the NFL. CJ Stroud needs to, dare I say, follow a little bit from Bo Nix. Bo Nix did exactly what he was asked to do last year, and he made some dumb turnovers at times. And I don't love Bo Nix, but he didn't necessarily lose his team games down the stretch. And Stroud didn't in the regular season. Stroud had a pretty good end of the regular season, quite honestly. They won 6 in a row. And then they beat the Steelers in a game where he was not very good. And in that game against the Patriots, that's scar tissue. And he's a young, talented guy. I think he'll be able to overcome it. But that's kind of what people are seeing in their head. And I know inside, that's not who CJ Stroud is. He needs to go show that to a national stage, because he could. When I'm talking about the Bo Nix Broncos and the CJ Stroud Texans, these are 2 teams that could be the Seahawks of this year. 2 teams with elite defenses. If their quarterback can put up good number, not even the quarterback, but their offense can just be kind of league to about a little bit above league average, these are teams that can make a Super Bowl run in the AFC. And that's not a crazy thing to say at all. The Texans are a very, very sneaky Super Bowl pick, and CJ Stroud just needs to guide the train instead of trying to drive it. Up next, Tyler Shuck. He's kind of my top guy of all the young guys. Tyler Shuck is talented. Tyler Shuck, when he played last year, was absolutely electric. And that's why I have him above a lot of the guys all the guys that were drafted in front of him, because he gave the Saints fans something to cheer for. He was very, very fun. And I don't think that kind of having the moxie, kind of having the swag for a bad team is something that can't be overlooked. So I'm expecting a big year from Tyler Shuck. They went out and drafted a first-round receiver for him. So now if he has a healthy Chris Olave and a healthy Jordan Tyson, which is also going to be a question mark, he can have the Saints offense doing special things. And I'm very interested to watch them, because he's a guy that can really, really shoot up my chart, to be honest. He's a guy really, really fun to watch. I just quite frankly there's not enough on Shuck yet, but give me one more season of good football, Shuck, and you're in the top 15 at least. 22, Bryce Young. This is one I really didn't know what to do. Him and Daniel Jones, I didn't really know what to do with him. He has his moments. The thing is that, okay, when you talk about Bryce Young, everything you say is in relative to him being like, he was the first overall pick, which makes it tough, because he has not lived up to being the first overall pick at all. But he has shown he is a starting caliber player in the NFL. Like a mid-level team, like maybe a mid to a lower level team in the NFL, like a starting quarterback. I don't think he's a guy you can win a Super Bowl with, but he's shown he's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. And he's shown moments that show you, that's why he was the number 1 overall pick. When they played the Rams last year in both of those games, he showed up. He kept him in games, and his stats are not. That's the thing. His stats are never going to be pretty unless he plays the Atlanta Falcons. I think they were 450 yards last year. But he has shown he'll have you in these games, and that's not something that can be, overstated. He's a guy that can play. He plays competitive football for you. His stats aren't going to jump off the charts, and if you want to continue in Carolina, I think he's going to have to change that and kind of show that, hey, I can put the stats on the paper consistently, and I can spew this in the end zone and not just be like a very, very minimal game manager. But the potential's there, and I'm interested to see what this year of Bryce Young looks like, what year 4 of Bryce Young looks like. Second year with Dave Canales, the 400 number overall pick, threw 23 touchdowns last year, 11 interceptions. This is it's a make or break year for Bryce Young, but he's shown the flashes. Can he produce those flashes consistently? Who knows? I'm not quite sold on it, but you every once in a while you're like, that's why that guy was the number overall pick, and it'll be interesting to see if that can continue. Up next, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, another interesting guy when you look at it. The style of play is not sustainable, but it's fun. Him and Scat, it's fun. The way they played. He is a legit dual threat quarterback. I mean, his legs, the threat of his legs is a threat unlike anyone. I mean, thinking in the league, him and Lamar, a guy that is going to look to run. Guys can make stuff happen with their legs. Jalen Hurts, a guy that can make stuff happen, but at the point in his career, they run tush pushes. Are they running quarterback power for Jalen Hurts this year? I don't know. Jackson Dart, I'd say, is the second biggest running threat in the entire league at the quarterback position. I think having a coach like John Harbaugh, who's coached Lamar Jackson in his young career, will be good for Jackson Dart. Harbaugh knows how to handle a dual threat quarterback. He can kind of mentor him in some ways, how to stay healthy. So you need to do, Jackson. And having a healthy Malik Neighbors, which it looks like he's going to have, is going to be a massive thing. He did not have a single good receiver threat last year. Wandale Robinson was fine. He was throwing jump balls to Theo Johnson in the end zone. He didn't have a guy he could say, I'm going to go to. And as a young quarterback, that's an important thing to have. I think the main thing for Jackson Dart is staying healthy this year. No one's expecting the Giants to go out there and make the playoffs, win a playoff game. He needs to have a full year where he can grow and develop, where those are the expectations next year and the year after that going into that. And it's not like, oh, I just have my second season cut short. I'm still learning some things. This is a year for him to learn and grow and become a savvy NFL quarterback. And I think that it's in Dart. I think that it's there. We just haven't necessarily seen it yet, which is why a lot of these 2 or 3 guys are young. You can't really say a whole lot. It's not a whole lot of critique. It's, I haven't been able to see it from you yet. I know it's in you. That's why you have to be this low. 24, Daniel Jones. I don't know if the Danny Dimes resurgence is something that's real, quite honestly. I mean, he was good last year at the beginning of the year for the Colts. He was riding a Jonathan Taylor MVP level play while they were being good playing those games, but he was quality, man. He was 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but in those first 6 weeks of the year, I mean, didn't throw an interception until week 4, threw 2 against the Rams. That's a game they fully could have won if Adonai Mitchell doesn't drop that ball. Only throws 1 the next 4 weeks. They lose to the Steelers, which is a weird game. And then he gets hurt and he tears his Achilles. And he's going in the year as a starter for the Colts, but I think he's a fine quarterback. He's a guy that can win. He can win games. He can lose games. It's hard to have high expectations for Daniel Jones, which is where he's a good stopgap guy. And I think that's kind of just what he is. I don't think he has a long-term future in Indianapolis, but it's just hard to look at him, not see like Giants Daniel Jones. And I think that's a lot of people have that opinion. It's hard to look at him, not see the guy that face in the helmet when he's on the ground, like the wide eyes. That's just what I see when I see Daniel Jones. I'm not taking him over any of these guys. I would probably take Cam Ward over Daniel Jones just for a season, just for pure explosive potential value. But Daniel Jones he doesn't have a high ceiling. He showed he has a kind of a low floor. He can win you games. He was solid for the Colts last year, but he's been in the league since 2019. This is his second good season. It's hard to say that you're kind of expecting that again. So that's why I have him so low, because I don't know that I'm not expecting high things from Daniel Jones. On to the last guy at 2 or 3, Cam Ward, the former number 1 overall pick. This is, again, I was talking about situations earlier in the episode. He's in a bad situation. He was in a bad situation last year. I think the situation's got a little better, but it's hard to judge a guy when he's playing with that around him. Like, he's just trying not to get killed out there. He was sacked 55 times. And when I watched him against the Seahawks, he showed flashes. There was points when I was like, wow, that is a special play. And it's all the extracurricular stuff. It's him running to the sideline, throwing back towards the middle of the field, everything they tell you not to do. The talent's there. Like, I don't really have a whole lot to say on Cam Ward because it's like, I know he has the talent, but I mean, it'll be interesting this year with Carnell Tate. He has a true receiver. It'll be an interesting year for the Tennessee Titans. I think he'll be better. They've only you can only improve from the situation he was in last year, which is a good thing for him because last year was probably the worst situation in the entire league. He had a bad QBR. He didn't put up good stats, but it's hard to gauge that when you're playing against when you have low quality around you. So that's why I Cam Ward at 25. It's not a slight on Cam Ward at all. It's not saying I don't believe in Cam Ward or I don't believe in his potential at all, but that's why I have him at number 25. On to tier 4. I'm not going to spend as much time on these guys, but we're going to get through it. Number 26, Kyler Murray. I'm interested to see where Kyler Murray goes. I've said that I think he can have a Baker Mayfield type rise. Can he? This is a big year. I mean, this is his last chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I think he has it in him, but you got to show it. This is a make or break time for you, Kyler. I mean, you're another former number 1 overall pick. A lot of former number 1 guys kind of in this lower region. They got a lot to prove. Malik Willis came in as a second-round pick, didn't do much for the Titans, and showed he can really thrive in a good system last year with the Packers. Came in, filled in for Jordan Love, which is another reason why it's hard to really gauge with Jordan Love because Malik Willis came in and won games. And I think he's in a good – they're not going to win a lot of games, but with Jeff Hafley, who brought him over from Green Bay, saw what he could do last year, kind of sees the way he succeeds in, the situation he succeeds in. If Malik Willis can put good tape out there, he can be the kind of quarterback. He can be the stopgap guy for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he's only 27. Who's saying that Malik Willis can't show that, hey, I'm going to be the quarterback of the Dolphins for the next 3 years. I'm going to be solid. I'm going to kind of get him through this rebuild. That's not how he's going to look at it. But he can be the guy that takes him from being the tanking team to maybe sneaking in the playoffs in a year or two and kind of be a guy that the fans can kind of cheer for. I see it in Malik Willis. He's young. I think learning in Green Bay was really, really good for his career as a guy that was a 3rd-round pick. And then getting able to show it in meaningful games is always a positive for a young quarterback who hadn't had the most success before. So that's why I think about Willis. 28, Michael Penix Jr. I've talked about it. I think I still believe the injury thing is kind of the big elephant in the room. Can he stay healthy for consecutive games? That's always going to be the thing that, I mean, I want to believe it. I have no reason to believe it so far. He hasn't really practiced in training camp yet, but I want to see it. I want it to be there for him. And I want him to have a year where he can show whether he's really legit or not. I hope Stefanski gives him that chance. He has the talent. Like, you see the clips, the arm talent's there. Like, the arm talent is arguably top 5 in the league. And he hasn't had a situation to show it. He hasn't had a well-rounded offense to kind of show it in. The offensive coordinator was awful last year. If he plays under Kevin Stefanski, I think that can be a really, really good offense. And he can show the connection with Drake London, the connection with Kyle Pitts. The talent's there. I want to be able to stay on the field, and I want to be able to show that. That's kind of the big question mark there, which is why you have to have him so low because of the big kind of the injury question mark. Jacoby Brissett, the tank commander. If you're tanking, Jacoby Brissett's a guy you want. You're not going to get indicted on any. You're not going to get punished by the league because Jacoby Brissett's going to put up stats. I mean, I still can't believe last year Jacoby Brissett had the most completions ever in an NFL game. He's going to chuck it. He's going to chuck it to McBride this year. He's going to chuck it to Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to chuck it to Michael Wilson. But he's not a quarterback on a starting level team. Props to him. He got paid. He did. I mean, he held out. He held in. Got paid. Said, hey, if I'm going to run this ship into the ground, I'm going to get money doing it. So he's going to throw for 300 yards a lot this year. They're not going to win games, though. Kirk Cousins, I don't want to see him start that much, to be honest. He found a way to win some games last year in Atlanta. It wasn't the most fun thing to watch in the world. I mean, ever since he tore his Achilles, watching him move just kind of hurts. He only had 2 games over 200 yards passing last year. The game against Tampa Bay on Thursday Night Football, and they somehow won. They threw for 234 against the Jets, and they lost. He's going to he's a good mentor. He's a good mentor type figure. That's kind of all I have to say about Kirk. I hope we can see Fernando in by week 5 at least. Tua, I talked about in my Falcons video. I don't want to watch Tua. Tua's kind of on that, dare I say, Kirk level. Not Kirk level is a bit low. I have him lower than him. I feel like I'd rather have Kirk. Tua also he's one concussion away from his career being over. Like if you're at that point in your career and you're gonna be a backup, I don't want to see him that happen at all. Not hang him up not in a bad way, but take care of yourself, man. Like the arm talent, he doesn't have the accuracy is there. I mean, he throws balls onto dimes, but he doesn't have the zip that Penix has. He doesn't have the high. The floor is pretty high. The ceiling is right above the floor, I think, with Tua. He showed he can get you to the playoffs with a really, really good situation around him in Miami. I think it's a good situation for him to be in Atlanta. I hope he's taking it the right way, as I want to kind of mentor this guy. I'm not trying to beat Penix out, or I hope he's not being like a dick about it. He should be like, hey, this is the young guy. I can show him some things. I'm a lefty quarterback. There's not a whole lot of us. Kind of just be that guide for him, because I think that's something that would really help Penix out. I got Shedeur at 32. I like Shedeur. Please start him. Todd Monken, please start Shedeur, bro. No one wants to. We'll talk about Deshaun Watson in a second. No one wants to see Deshaun Watson play. Shedeur's young. He's in his second year. Yes, there's some low lows last year, but they were a bad team. He was also the only guy that came in and kind of invigorated that team. He did better than Dylan Gabriel did, who was started for some reason. He found a way to win games. The fan base likes him. He has the moxie. To play quarterback, you got to have moxie sometimes, and Shedeur has it. And we'll talk about it on my Browns preview coming up next week, but let the kid play, dude. You're not getting anything out of this year. Let the young guy play with the young receivers around him and the young tight end, the young offense. Because, I mean, before the whole draft saga, Shedeur Sanders was going to be a first-round pick, everyone thought. And then he fell, and it was all the off-the-field stuff. The talent's there. Let's see it. I genuinely think Shedeur can be a starting level quarterback in the NFL. Is that crazy? I don't think so. I think that, I want to see Shedeur Sanders play 17 games this year. Maybe 18. They might make the playoffs. Maybe. Spencer Rattler. I love Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler. They've been raving about Spencer Rattler in Saints training camp. I didn't want him to be benched last year. I didn't think he was the problem last year. Spencer Rattler, one of the best backups in the league. If any team's quarterback goes down this year and they don't have a good backup, I think Spencer Rattler should be one of the first people that they call. He's shown that he can do it. Not to a crazy level, but he tries to mitigate mistakes. I think the Spencer Rattler is being very underrated. He's only 25. He's a very, very good backup in the NFL. Geno Smith, 34. God, falling off the cliff that Geno had last year was crazy. No one wanted him to leave Seattle. All the film people were like, Geno Smith is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Seattle's crazy for letting him go. And then he goes to the Raiders and is absolutely horrible. I'm just trying to erase the whole Raiders, Geno, Pete Carroll thing from my mind. It's kind of hard to do, though. But Geno at 34, I think that's reasonable. I have him above Deshaun Watson. I don't want to watch Deshaun Watson play football. Deshaun Watson's a bad person. Deshaun Watson is coming off an Achilles tear. He hasn't played football in 2 years. I don't know why anyone would want to watch Deshaun Watson play football. I've been keeping up way too much with the Browns and quarterback controversy, quarterback competition in camp. These guys have some weird stands. The Shedeur stand's one thing. If you want Deshaun Watson to play, you're just kind of a Shedeur hater. There should be nothing exciting to you about Deshaun Watson, which is crazy now, and he is the only guy that I have above 9. 9, nothing against JJ McCarthy as a person. Much better person than Deshaun Watson. There hasn't been nothing that I've seen from JJ McCarthy that shows me that he is a capable NFL quarterback. I think Kyler's going to start. I wouldn't be surprised if we see McCarthy at some point this year, just because it's kind of we're bad. Might as well give our first-round quarterback one more shot before we say that this is a failure. 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year. His mechanics are bad. He doesn't have, he's just not good. He's not. And, there's nothing against him. He's just not good. He's not an NFL quarterback. And that's why I have him at 36 on my list. So that's going to wrap it up. Long episode, fun episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Instagram, TikTok when I post these graphics. Give me a follow over there. We're going to be starting previewing the AFC, starting with the AFC West later this week. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next episode.